Hello and welcome. I'm Father Greg Carlson, and I want to speak with you about definitions of Greek tragedy. In the World Literature course, we have read two Greek tragedies so far, the Oedipus Rex and Medea. No doubt you will be reading other tragedies in World Lit 2 and other courses and throughout your life. What I'd like to offer here is three different definitions of Greek tragedy that can help you recognize one of these plays and see it for what it is. There are, by the way, over 30 plays known as Greek tragedies. Tragedy for the Greeks, first of all, a first definition, seems to have been a long play about a serious theme. Our two plays, Oedipus and Medea, certainly fit that definition. A second definition comes from Aristotle in his work, The Poetics. This is a long and serious discussion of Greek tragedy. The pattern for Aristotle's thinking about tragedy seems to have been Oedipus the King, Oedipus Rex, and so we're fortunate to have the very play that he considered a model play as he was creating his definition of a tragedy. His definition runs like this: tragedy is a serious, dignified form of drama involving a great person whose reversal of fortune is brought about by a character flaw. A character like the central character frequently recognizes what was before unnoticed, so recognition is an important part of Aristotle's sense of tragedy. And the effect for us of viewing the play is, for Aristotle, a catharsis or purging of our emotions of pity and fear. Let me come back on the major elements of this definition of Aristotle's. First of all, the major character is going to experience a reversal of fortune. Generally, this means that a great character, a hero, is brought low by what happens during the play. What you see behind me, by the way, and have no doubt been looking at, is a lovely student painting of Oedipus himself after he has blinded himself. It was done by Matt Gabrielson some years ago. So, there's a reversal of fortune. There is, secondly, for Aristotle, a character flaw in a character otherwise good and even great. Thirdly, there is recognition, like Oedipus's recognition that he killed his father and married his mother. For Aristotle, this brings a catharsis or purgation of pity and fear. The most likely way that Aristotle was understanding this unusual expression is that pent-up emotions, pity and fear, in regular life will find a better release in art than they will in life. And so we use the experience of the theater to get rid, if you want, of our pent-up emotions of pity and fear. Others working with this Aristotelian definition over the decades and centuries, really, see purgation of pity and fear differently, especially in two particular ways. First, critics will point out that pity and fear are not the only emotions aroused in the theater. Plenty of other emotions come to the surface, like wonder, awe, and reverence for human life. Take our Medea, for example. The emotions most at work in viewing Medea, I believe, are first a kind of sympathy with a wronged woman. Then, with the chorus, we start to fear as she talks about killing her children to get back at Jason. And finally, what we feel most is revulsion at the monster Medea has become, killing her own children. So it's not just pity and fear that are often at stake in experiencing a tragedy. Secondly, more modern critics of tragedy will often speak less of purging emotions and more, if you want, of purifying them. Emotions caught in a crossfire in regular life and mixed up with all sorts of things in the hurly-burly of life have a chance in an artistic experience, like tragedy, of being refined, clarified, experienced more purely. An overall reaction to Aristotle's definition by many people, including myself, is that it applies quite well to Oedipus Rex, but that it misses most other tragedies, ancient and modern. And so I want to give a definition that's a little bit more specific than that broad Greek definition, that a tragedy is a long, serious play, dignified play about a serious theme, and that is not so specific as Aristotle's, and so will apply much more broadly to tragedies as we know them. So my own sense of tragedy is that it's a serious form of drama that brings three things together. First, a sense of waste. Secondly, an experience of insight. And thirdly, an encounter with human limits. First, a sense of waste. Aristotle talked about a flaw and a reversal, that things went the opposite of the way a person expected them to, that a person on top ended up being brought down. I think tragedy as an artistic form builds on the human experience of seeing life, talent, opportunity wasted. Not just lost, but wasted. We see someone hit by a lightning bolt and we find it pathetic, sad, disconcerting, frightening. But it becomes tragic when the accident could have been avoided, and so we have an experience of waste. When a car runs over a child, when human possibilities are wasted through our own fault, that's tragic. Tragedy builds on that sense of waste in what we find tragic in life. Secondly, tragedy includes an experience of insight. The characters may, and the audience must, learn something about life. It need not be expressed in words, but there has to be some sense of the preciousness of human life, or fragility, or power, or its hidden gifts. By watching others experience, we learn something. Oedipus did learn, and was in fact heroic in his learning. From Medea, we learn the fierce power in a downtrodden person, like a wife spurned. Tragedy is thirdly an encounter with human limits. People come up against their limits, whether they are flawed people or not. This encounter with one's limits can be heroic, as it was for Oedipus, who is both flawed and great. He learned how arrogant and ignorant he was, but he lived on once he came to know himself. He lived with the knowledge, the way his wife could not live with the shaming knowledge that she found that she had married her son. Heroes may even push up against the boundaries of the human, and expand them, or they may sadly bump up against them in failure and loss. When we watch a tragedy, we see the possibilities of a human being and the limits that are put on our humanity. Put together then a play that evokes these experiences of waste, insight, and limits, and bring them together in one experience, and you have for yourself a good tragedy. So my definition is tighter than the Greek's definition, looser than Aristotle's. I think you'll find it covering those plays that we instinctively call tragedies. Thank you for listening, and enjoy great tragedies wherever you find them.